Hey everyone, welcome back for another Sunday edition of the podcast. Today we got Charlie with TFB rejoining us. Got him back on the pod. We're going to talk a little OU softball. Tough, hard fought battle against Texas yesterday, and then go into a little recruiting, and then later we may talk. Thunder has a pretty important series coming up this week, so we may get into that a little bit up next here on Champion Standard.
That's my standard. That's my standard. My champion standard. Champion standard. Pull up with the answers. Yeah, the answers. The champion standard. Champion standard. Yeah. That's my standard. My champion standard.
Yeah, Charlie, welcome back, man. Appreciate you joining us again.
No, thanks for having me, guys. I enjoy coming on, and I'm a big fan of your podcast now. So it's good for everybody, right?
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate you taking time out on Sunday. I know Sundays and weekends are busy for everyone. So, yeah, so softball, man, you can't beat Texas every year. We had a nice 11-year run here in the state. So that's what I'm taking from it. They haven't beat us since 2014 until yesterday. So, man, that was a tough game. I don't know what your thoughts are on it, but to me, it felt like the usual things this year. So, walks, untimely errors, and just not getting the clutch hit when you need it.
Yeah, it's about for me. It was about missed opportunity.
Yeah.
And that's what you're going to have when you have such a young team, and you don't have the. I mean, Sam Landry's been great. Sam Landry has been wonderful, but you don't have a dominant ace like a Pickens or a Kennedy or you go down the line, a couple Rothrock even, but you can't give the other team runs and you can't give them opportunities and then not capitalize on yours. So I didn't look at the Texas loss yesterday as Texas beating OU as much as OU not beating Texas. I can't even say, I'm disappointed because I'm not. I mean, this team wasn't supposed to be here, in my opinion, and it's only my opinion. They far exceeded their expectations when you look at, they only had 3 returning starters in the lineup, none of the returning pitchers. They're also young. We saw Sidney Barker mid-season, actually 3/4, almost 4/5 of the way through, all of a sudden become a fixture in the lineup. And they're just learning and developing. And that mindset and the set that Jada Coleman, Tiara Jennings, and that group brought, it's not there yet. That could help, and maybe we see a magic run here throughout, and they get back to the final. But yeah, it was disappointing because it was Mike White. That's all. It was Texas. It's not even Texas. Some of those girls are probably wonderful, and
exactly.
It was just Mike White, and he was doing his douchebaggery stuff out there, switching sides of the field.
Yeah, that's what I told Rob
Brad
before
literally
he came
said
on,
that.
man. The same exact thing.
Yeah.
God.
I mean, that's why it was Mike White. So the good thing here is, in my opinion, if OU doesn't win, it won't be at the hands of Texas, right? It'll be Oregon or Texas Tech who take them out. Because if they get back to the championship series and they play Texas, I have full confidence they will beat Texas in the best of 3. So it was great. I mean, Ella gave us that walk-off. They're just I've said on the board, you guys have read it, stay young, stay dumb. They don't know that they're not supposed to win. And that was what they did all year. They pulled out some games that they probably shouldn't have. And it was great. It's been a great ride. I hope it continues more than anything. But if it doesn't, and if this is it, it was a great, great season. Probably Patty's best coaching job with what she had.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, totally agree. That Tennessee game on Thursday was just a gift. Anything in the postseason like that is just a gift this year. So the postseason in particular is just a gift. You put it well. This team wasn't supposed to be here, and they're still fighting. They're still one of 6 teams alive, and I'm happy with that. And I know Patty gets a familiar foe this evening, going to go up against Missy Lombardi, her former coach. And
it was funny the other night we were watching an Oregon game. My wife passed through and she stops and she goes, "Is that Patty Gasso?" because from the back with the ponytail and the visor and the way she was walking, Melissa looked so much like Patty, the way Patty carries herself. So Oregon's on the right track with that.
Right. Yeah. No, it'll be a good time this evening, and I feel like at this point all the pressure's off. I'm just going to enjoy every inning we get now from here on out. So
yeah. Because I'm not looking forward to the days when we don't have any more softball games, because then it actually makes me have to do more work. So
yeah. And what's crazy is we don't know what it's like to end the season with a loss for 5 years now. So that'll be weird.
Yeah.
Which is likely going to be the case. We'll all be looking at each other, be like, what loss? What's going on?
Yeah. What's it like? It's good. 7, 14, over 1,800 days since somebody else last won the NCAA, right?
Yeah.
That's just quick math. It could be 2,000 if it all adds up. I was just,
yeah,
that's a long time.
That is
a long time.
That's a lot of dominance. Hey, just update. I'm watching UCLA Tennessee. It's 2-2, bottom of the 5th. And like you said, they have a Pickens. What's crazy is if we beat Oregon, we get to play Kennedy tomorrow night, and we'll have seen basically all the good pitching in the World Series once we play her. But if we somehow beat Oregon and beat her, who knows what can happen? So
right. I would like to see on the other side of the bracket. I would like to see Pickens go against Texas.
Yeah.
But UCLA, that's pretty still wide open to me. I'm not a big believer in Mike White coach teams, and I'm not saying that because I don't like Mike White. They don't seem to have that extra, or they haven't yet been able to consistently play at a high level. So I think they're kind of open to, especially a team, if Pickens gets hot against them, or UCLA gets hot offensively against them, it's going to be a good match on that side.
Yeah.
So how do we match up against Oregon tonight? I mean, I don't really know much about Oregon.
I don't think anybody knows much about Oregon softball, and I mean they're a solid team. They're fast. They run the bases aggressively. Don't have a dominant pitcher. They pitch kind of like OU by committee, but Sam's been the focal point.
Right.
They're a good team, and they're fundamentally sound, and they will run. They're going to test the catcher for Oklahoma, and they're fun. They're a fun team. They play a lot like they play football. Is the way I look at it. They're just really energetic, really into it, and they're very team based and faith based. Obviously, coming from Melissa from Patty's tree, so
right.
It's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. And if OU does get by them, I really want to see them beat Texas Tech. I have issues with Texas Tech, and people are going to be like, why? And I just don't like the concept of being able to buy a national championship so blatantly. And I know it's the reality, Charlie, and that's what it is today, and that's how you do it. But they went so far above and beyond with $1 million NIL deal that for a sport that doesn't generate, especially at Texas Tech, doesn't generate any money. That is in no way in the spirit of NIL. And again, that's me being old school, but I just don't like the fact that, Nigeria won this year. Ohio State decides they want to pay her $2 million for next year. Good for her making the money, but it kind of breaks everything down in regard to the sport itself. And that's just me being old fashioned, but I don't see how that can be justified to pay that money for a sport that doesn't bring in that money. It's you have All-American linemen in football who aren't making anywhere near that money, and they bring in billions of dollars, billions.
Right. Yeah.
So
that's wild.
Yeah.
I didn't know Kennedy was making $1 million a year. I knew it was a lot, but I didn't know it was up there.
Yeah, it was whispers early on when she signed with them. There were whispers about it, and it was over $1 million, and now they're flat out talking about it. So I mean, she's interviewing and answering questions about her contract. So, and I like her. So I'm kind of at a loss here. But if they do get to the final against Texas, of course, I want Texas Tech to beat Mike White.
Yeah,
again,
for sure.
I have no issue with the Texas program. It's just Mike White. That's it.
Yeah,
if they had another coach, I'd be like, whoever, let's just see a good series. No, it's just Mike White.
I think there's a lot of other fans that are in the same boat the three of us are. The guy's just a jerk, and he's easy to hate.
Yeah.
Isn't there a backstory that there was a donor for Texas Tech that just for spite ended up signing her for that huge contract? I forget the details behind it, but
his wife wanted the softball program to be good, and James, God bless James, because James knew all this even before we were talking about it. And he's like, yeah, this guy and his wife really wants the program, and because that Jerry came over from Louisiana, they wanted Sam, but James is going through all this stuff, and I'm like, okay, what's that mean? He goes, they're going to spend big bucks, Charlie. They're going to buy an ISU candidate, and I'm like, she's not going to Texas Tech. She's got no chance.
Wow. Of course, James would know. Of course he would know.
Yeah,
he would know
James
all.
knows everybody. and I'm not going to say this to bag on James. James knows so much shit that he doesn't know what he doesn't know. Like Kay and I will be talking to him, and we're like, wait, dude, what? You're supposed to be telling us that stuff. And it's just kind of, it just flows with him. He's still waiting to write his Monday, Wednesday, Friday thing. And we're like, James, you got to tell us this stuff so we can act on it. So, but yeah, he knew the person, he knew the name of the donor and everything. And I'm like, wow. Yeah. Yeah, it's funny.
Yeah. Just touching on, I know we can move on from softball and hit recruiting. Touching on baseball real quick, they lost yesterday to North Carolina. Gave up 6 runs, I want to say, in the first or second inning. I don't remember what it was, and the rest was downhill. But that pissed them off. Today they went out and beat Nebraska 17-1. So yeah, so
Dang.
now they got to beat North Carolina twice, of course, which will be no tall feat. But hey, they're still alive.
Stay hot,
keep fighting.
right?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. Keep those bats swinging. You never know.
You never know. So, yeah. So I think we touched on softball. By the way, Tennessee's up 4-2. They got a 2-run jack, so now they're up 4-2. So may get your wish with Tennessee and Texas possibly matching up tomorrow. But
I'd like to see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
So
that would be a good one.
Yeah, while we got you on here, we definitely wanted to touch on recruiting a little bit. I know things are the momentum starting to shift a little bit in our favor. We got Brian Harris. Did we get another commit here in the last week, or just Brian? It was just Brian Harris, right?
Brian is the most recent one. Yeah, before that was Ja'Cory Smith.
Yep.
The linebacker, who
Yep.
I like a lot. He's a good player.
I know next weekend is a really big recruiting weekend.
Yeah.
Just for 26 guys, right? Not necessarily for 27 guys next
There'll
weekend.
be 27 guys there.
A few 27s in.
Yeah, I mean, it's the big recruiting weekend. The Champ U barbecue is set for the 20th, but this one's more important next weekend. Plain and simple. There's no doubt about it. It's because of who you're hosting and the focus of that weekend with Bo Bentley. That's where we're at. So, that's my focus right now is basically Bo Bentley and, if he gets out of LSU uncommitted, which is, everything so far says he's going to, but I'm talked to somebody from the LSU area for about an hour ago, and they're like, yeah, they're really pushing. They're really throwing everything at him, which they're going to do.
Right.
So, and he brought a lot of family members. So this is real. This is real. And he's stuck to his plan the whole way about being, coming down to the official visits, which I got to be honest, it's not usually the way it happens. Usually there's a clear number one. And there's a lot of talk about, it'll come down to the OVs, but this one feels pretty open. That's why I've been hesitant. I have I've had OU leading since they offered Bentley, but I'm not crazy enough to come out and say, yeah, it's done, it's locked up, because they're going against LSU and at the time Georgia. But if he gets out and the family goes home and there's no commitment, and they're amping up to go to OU next week, I have no doubt that OU will do whatever they can do to, retake or grab the momentum, and then there'll be a commitment shortly after that. I imagine there'll be a commitment before June 20th, because that's the last official visit dates for anybody, and I would assume that Bentley will be at either one of those schools. I think it'll be OU, but I'm not going to sit here and say, yeah, it's done, it's finished. It's not, because if it was, it would be. It's kind of that
Right.
that simple. If it was finished, it wouldn't be going on still. So that's the big week. That's the big visitor. And then I'm looking at the list now. You got a couple wide receivers and Dickerson and Pettit coming in. You got the offensive lineman, Noah Best, Desmond Green, Deacon Schmidt. And then you have a little change on the defensive side. Like Brian Harris isn't coming this week. He's coming on the 20th. So there's going to be bigger numbers on the 20th, but the importance is all about the 6th, because if they say they miss out on Bowe Bentley, you're going to see a sudden shift of all the momentum pushed on Jaden O'Neal. Mm-hmm. You're our guy. You're the guy we wanted all along. We were just doing, which is, I got to give Arbuckle and Nagy and Venables credit, because they're doing something right to keep them in the fold to this point.
Yep.
They're saying the right things, and that's their message. It changed when Ben came in, that we need 2. He feels we need 2, and but the narrative changes. As soon as Bowe Bentley commits somewhere, it changes. And that's what I think you're going to see before the 20th. I can't guarantee it again. I thought he would be committed in April to the school of his choosing, but we'll see. So that's the story here with this week coming up. I don't even know if there's, Matthew Nelson's coming in. He's probably going to commit. You got a couple other kids that, if I go down the list, Braxton Lindsay, that's a big one to come in. He'll come in with Ja'Cory Smith, another linebacker. Danny Odom, the one cornerback that Valai seems to be very high on, him and Derek Johnson will both be in. So there's a couple other names this weekend, but the entire focus is going to be on Bowe Bentley, and that's
rightfully
the nature of the beast.
Yeah, rightfully so. He's the big quarterback. Fort Worth, Dallas, Fort Worth area. We're in your recruiting area. He's a top 5 quarterback by most of the recruiting services. He's got a great arm.
Yeah.
What is the draw to LSU? Do you know why it kind of narrowed down from, he took Georgia out and it kind of came down to OU, LSU? We know OU because it's basically QBU, but Brian Kelly, LSU, what's the draw to go down there to LSU? Opening, Mateer's not in his way. Does he want to play next year?
No,
or anything like that? What's the draw?
I have a long fascination with LSU. I don't understand. It's an armpit. It's uncomfortable. It's dirty. It's not. It's not. I don't know. So people say this or that for. I just look at going to LSU. I've been there numerous times. I don't like it, and I'm sitting there going, "What? How did they pull all these kids?" Well, then you start thinking the money,
sure.
And that I understand the old school, LSU with the bags and all that stuff, but there's no real draw there for me. I mean, so as you're talking about Bowe Bentley, it's his relationship with the quarterback coach and at LSU, and that said, I haven't heard it from him. I can't tell you that, but it's said that that's his best relationship is with him. Sloan, I believe. I'm not thinking straight here, but
Joe Sloan.
I believe it is. And they brought in Joe Burrow this weekend, and it's. I don't know though. Do you guys have any? I don't.
I know this guy. Oh, Joe Sloan. Yeah, I know this guy. I've seen. He's a younger guy.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's hit, but for LSU itself, man, I don't know. I have a dear friend of mine whose daughter went there for gymnastics, matter of fact, and I'm like, I'm like, how does she like it? And he's like, yeah, she doesn't go out. She does, she doesn't like the temperature. She doesn't like the humidity. And I don't know. Maybe some people dig it, but I don't know. It's just not a great area in Baton Rouge, but it is what it is. So it's
Okay.
got to be relationship based. It's got to be
Yeah.
Sloan. It's certainly not Brian Kelly. It can't be Brian
That's what I
Kelly.
was like, your coach
Yeah.
is gonna be Brian Kelly.
I'm,
It was like,
yeah, I'm
doofus,
trying to
man.
think. I'm trying to think of anything at all. I'm like, is it the Cajun food? Is that it? Is there? That's
Could
about
be.
it.
I'm
But-
gonna go make some jambalaya on my Blackstone. That's what I'm having for dinner between now and the game. But
Nice.
Heck yeah,
it's kind of
nice.
it's kind of like I don't know. I never got LSU. There's certain places you never get, and LSU is like right there at the top. And I'm like, I don't know, that and College Station. The two of them. It's I don't know.
Yeah, Rob will completely agree with you on that, man. He
Oof.
preaches about it being a cult, and it's just weird down there, man.
It's
Just some
weird.
weird vibes.
Been around him. It's weird. I've
Yeah.
spent some quality time. It's
Yeah.
it's just weird. I never really felt safe. It was just weird.
Yeah.
I don't
And
know.
you never feel like it's real almost. It's that weird. You know, you go through that and you're like, this can't be real. This is like some kind of movie set, right? It's real. So it is what it is. But yeah, the first weekend is going to be big as I go through the list. I'm still trying to check on it of who's coming in.
You mentioned Bentley, so it's one of those deals where if you get that quarterback, it always seems to spawn other offensive guys.
Yeah.
It just always has during the Lincoln era and other times. You get the quarterback, you get the bell cow, and it just seems to attract the receivers or whatever. So
and with who they have coming in with Dickerson and Pettit, the two wide receivers, it's smart, or it's fortunate that Bentley was able to come in that week instead of next week when he was originally coming. So you can see that, and then you get a couple of the offensive linemen. You can see building something there. But it all hinges on where he's at. And I know there's people out there who want to be first and, proclaim we called it back. It's not over.
Right.
Flat out. It's not, no decision has been made. No NIL agreement has been come to as of an hour ago. I mean, and if it is over, it's not good for OU. So I'll tell you that. I have OU leading or to be leading at the end of next week, but I'm not going to be a crazy one to say it's over and it's ready to go. It would be nice. I think it's going to happen, but there's still a lot to play here, and he's got to make it to Norman. Start there.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Rob. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to ask the Bowe Jandro, the brother of the commit we have. Does he come in the 6th or the 20th? One of those weekends.
20th.
Okay.
Yeah, that's when he's scheduled, I believe. Yeah, Nico and Bowe are scheduled for the 20th.
Okay.
That will be, I think that one's locked up, which is a good pickup for OU. That one I would say is, it'd be a shock if he didn't wind up at OU.
Right. Never hurts to get the brother. Never hurts.
Yeah. And they're good players, and I think Brent can do a lot with their physical nature. I think that's something that, Nico may not be a fit at many places, but he's a fit at OU because they use the hybrid, pretty liberally on their defensives, and that's what he is. He's a tweener between safety and linebacker, and Nico will fit in there, and then Bowe is just a straight up linebacker, which will, that's the place to be. It should be. I don't know why it's they're struggling in recruiting for a couple of years. I guess it's the fact you've had 3 different linebacker coaches, which
Yep, that'll do it.
Yeah, but you have Brent Venables, and that's my thing. And you've had James Skalski, so it's a little curious to me that they haven't recruited better at linebacker over the last couple of years, because they've been there, and Skalski I thought would be a big draw because his name was still fresh enough. The kids saw what he did, and working under Brent. So I don't know, I guess since he's not your position coach, you want a better relationship with that. But it's coming, and I think OU is probably going to try for 4 linebackers this cycle. You got Jacory, you got Bowe, and then there's a couple others that, you got Braxton Lindsey, who's possibly my favorite, that they're fighting BYU of all places for, who I really like. And then DeQuavius Beck just dropped his top 4. He said OU's in it. I haven't heard his name, I don't know, in months, but he's scheduled to be here next week. We'll see. So, it's still an evolving thing.
Let's pivot to the edge room. The
Mhm.
edge room is like the one room where I'm like holding my breath a little bit. Besides tight end,
Yeah.
take the tight end room. That's a dead horse. But the edge room, the edge room, the edge room is like the one, like, because we've had some really good, you Danny Okoye and PJ, and we brought in Marvin Jones Jr. from the transfer portal, and you have RMT finally had his first year healthy. You're hoping that you go into this season and you have a very productive defensive end room and a 26 class that's going to complement it. What's your thoughts on the edge room right now? Because that's like the one area I'm kind of worried about. Because once RMT graduates and Marvin Jones Jr. is gone, you're going to have to reload. What are your thoughts on the edge room?
I'm right there with you, and I'm not, I haven't been shy about it on our board and our community. You have to start showing the product on the field for the talent you have. You just listed off who they have. You didn't even mention Gilmore and Heim or Wine or whichever one's in there. I always go back and forth. But you have 5-star talent, and people want to say, well, it's not the scheme. Ethan. No. If you have that talent should shine through. And if you develop your players, that those players should shine through. Ethan Downs reached his ceiling at OU. He did. He's a great player, great teammate. He never stops, but he was a tweener. He wasn't a linebacker. He wasn't an edge, and he wasn't a defensive tackle. He was, he had short arms, bigger body, and he didn't have the size to be a defensive tackle. That's where, I always thought he would be an inside guy, just because of what he would bring there. He would be a menace there. So he played the edge as best he could. Now, Brent Venables isn't asking him to not go sack the quarterback. He's not doing that. People say, well, they have him focusing on protecting the run. Okay, but the object is to do both, is to play the run and get after the quarterback when you're on the edge. Yeah. That's where you're at. Not taking anything away from Ethan Downs. Like I said, great player, reached his ceiling, reached his potential, but that was his potential. He wasn't gifted. He wasn't PJ Adebawore, who looks like an alien out there. He wasn't Danny Okoye, who was built like a Greek god, right? He wasn't RMT, who has the burst to get around the outside just with his athleticism. He wasn't Marvin Jones Jr. So all those 4 of those guys I just named, they're still there, and they can make that impact that Ethan Downs maybe didn't or couldn't, right? So well, what about Woolard and Lalu and Bothroyd? Well, I don't know. I don't know. So that it is my concern there. And then the 26 class is a concern for me because 25, you brought in a great, project, or a great prospect, I should say, first, in Nixon. He looks like $1 million. He's, big, he's got all the athleticism, but you also brought in Alex Shieldnight, who's going to be a project, and that's not dissing him. That's just what he is going to college. So you didn't really restock there. You got Nixon, who's very raw, very, very raw, has a high upside, but that doesn't, get him on the field in a year. So What are you going to back that up with? Everybody was sold on the dream of KJ Ford. A lot of people, got out in front of that and wanted to be the first to say he's coming to OU, and
I saw that.
Kay's very connected to that area, and he's like, guys, just kind of relax. Duncanville kid, he's interested in OU, but so that's what happens. You ramp the hype up, and you're like, yeah, we're getting him, just kind of like Jonah Williams.
Much hype.
Everybody says Jonah Williams
my God.
committed to OU. Kay goes out and sees him, spends a half hour with him. He comes back and says, "Guys, this isn't what it is." He's got a lot of visits he wants to take, and people still to this day will defend that and say Jonah Williams committed. No, he didn't. He didn't commit. So,
there's always that one guy every year that people jump on board like that.
Yeah,
or more.
So you have Matthew Nelson. Yeah. Well, it seems like a train, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Seems like follow the leader.
But
you got the guy Matthew Nelson's coming in. Matthew Nelson from Arkansas, again, another incredibly raw project. He's not going to come in and make an impact. So here we go. We're going to have to go shopping again next year because you're losing RMT, MJJ, and then you're going to have you're going to have to replenish that. So you're going to go back to shopping unless you get this development. So you got to see this development. Now this year is, there's no excuse. There's no excuse. None.
Yeah.
How many?
I thought
two 5-stars, a 4-star, and RMT. Think about that.
Yep. That's pretty good. You should see some production on the field. Like you should. Like they're really, and I do. Going back to Ethan. He didn't really give you anything in that in that pass rush game, but he had a high motor. Like he was a high motor guy. Like he was. I am going 100 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Even though I might not be able to get there, I'm gonna go as hard as I can. And I always appreciated that in his game.
100%.
He was not a quit on the play kind of guy.
Yeah.
He will, from the backside defense from that spot, he will run 80 yards to go make a tackle if he had to. And I thought it was interesting with going into he graduated and we brought in Marvin Jones Jr. And to be honest, like watching his film last year, it wasn't great. Seeing his run defense, it looked like he was playing patty cake all the time. And I was like, okay, this is different. You got this guy who's a high motor, I'm going to stop the run kind of defensive end. And now they're kind of switched. I want to go with the high, athleticism. I can take him, develop him, and make him into a run, like what you mentioned, a run defender and a pass rush. And so I feel like going, that move in Marvin Jones Jr. and RMT healthy, this is a year where they are leaning on their coach, and the 26 class is kind of doing that same. They're waiting to see it, and that's why Ford, the Duncanville kid who's probably just in a wait and see mode. He's gonna go talk to other people, and he's gonna wait and see what we got on the field. But who's the other guy? The Jake Cruel, IMG.
Yeah. Jake Cruel. I do agree that OU's in a very good spot for it. But like he's at Ohio State this week. You can sell a lot when you just won the national championship and you have a history of putting kids in the league. So again, our intel says not over. OU's in a good spot. They're doing good work there. They have a nice relationship. All things, if this was probably 3 years ago, 4 years ago, he'd probably be in the boat already. Because OU was, winning every year at that point. But they're not. That's the problem when these other teams, in NIL, you can all get good NIL anywhere you go. But, OU's not in a good spot right now on the field. And so you have to see that. I'm not saying he's not going to commit to OU in the summer. He could very well. I would almost expect him to. But there's some hesitancy right now, and it's understood why there's some hesitancy. Because they're getting pounded with the negative recruiting. They don't have the results to show on the field, and you let all these guys, just kind of fall off. You're not sending them a lot to the league. You've had a 3-year gap in that, and whether it's Brent's fault or not, that's where we're at. That's you're seeing the OU stock fall in the draft, and it's kind of where we're at, and it's tough. It's a tough sell, but Cruel is in a good spot, and Chavis is a good recruiter. Miguel he's very energetic. He's very personable. He's all in. He's all OU, and he's doing a good job. I think they close with Cruel, but again, it'd be a lot easier if you had more to sell. So that's
Oh,
the
sure.
story of that's the whole story of this whole class. You know, the staff has to sell almost. You know, it's almost an impossible job to sell what they have right now. So you got to find very specific kids, very specific mindsets, and that's good because it'll benefit OU at the end of the day. But it's I don't envy them right now, and they're going to be okay. That's what it is. It's Oklahoma, but
Right.
it's just not, you know, it's not real fun right now for them, I imagine.
Yeah, and a winning season this coming season, and sending 4 or 5 defensive guys to the league would be
Yeah.
the biggest shot in the arm to this
Yeah.
program in
Oh,
a
yeah.
long time. So I know that's
Yeah.
a couple big what ifs there, but the draft will happen. We'll get 4 or 5 defenders finally drafted this coming
Yeah.
season, and yeah, you're right. It's just an uphill battle. I've been extremely impressed the classes we've been able to sign the last few years in
Yeah.
spite of that. But
Yeah.
God dang, just we need that 9-10 win season
You
just
got to
to
show it
just
at
to
some point,
just to
right?
really
Yeah.
give that boost to recruiting that they need, and they can get some of these guys, that they've been missing out on a little bit.
Yeah. Before I go,
Mhm.
about that, a lot does come down to what happens on the field, and I think there's this idea that 8-4 fixes things. 8-4 is the worst result you could have as an Oklahoma fan.
I've been saying that to Brad for months. 8-4 is the worst thing that could happen.
Absolute
Let him
worst.
finish, Rob.
Absolute worst. I'm sorry.
It's the
Go ahead.
absolute worst, because chances are you're going to find a way to not pay $35 million to get rid of Brent, and you're going to appease your donors, and you're going to keep Brent, right? So, okay, that's great, rah, 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 but you have zero momentum on the recruiting trail. Kids don't look at 8-4 and say, yeah, that's where I want to go. That's, it doesn't catch the eye. If you go 9-3 and you're in the conversation for playoff point or playoff, you can point to that and say, yeah, that's our selling point. We're getting better. We're there. 8-4, man. You should have been 8-4 last year if they had any offense. 7-5, 8-4, right? I mean, you look at the Missouri game, which anyway, you look at South Carolina, you look at Tennessee. If you had any offense, right, you win those games.
Yep.
8-4 this year against a less strong schedule. And we can get in another time if you'll be gracious to have me on.
Of course, yeah.
You're going against a lesser schedule. 8-4 doesn't cut it, man. It just doesn't. Nope. And I think that's the tough sell at that point. Well, yeah, half the fan base, is like, keep Brent, and the other half will be like, fire Brent, and you have that going back and forth, and then the coaches are saying, yeah, we got better, and then they'll say, but we could have won more, and why didn't we win more of that? It's just 8-4 sucks. It really does.
8-4 would be bad. I've been telling Brad I want anything less than 8-4, and that way we can just burn it all to ground and just restart, reset, or
we all want
Brent is the guy.
Yes.
And I want 9 plus. I want we got to get to 10 at the end of the season with a bowl or whatever.
Win your bowl game, yeah.
And I've been saying on November 1st is that first. I mean, I saw Kay's post on most important must wins.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, on November 1st is like the most important date of our season. November 1st, whether we win or lose that Tennessee game, that November 1st date, we have to be competing for an SEC championship. We have to be the 5 to 16. We have to be in the top, like one of the top 5 that are competing for a champion. Yeah. It's been too long since we've actually competed for a conference championship.
Yeah.
You can't look at Lincoln's last year where he went to Stillwater and was like, "Oh, just throw the ball down deep." I don't know, and just kept, all terrible.
That was all smoke and mirrors. Yeah.
It was all smoke and mirrors, and we haven't legitimately competed for a conference championship for a long time. We have to be one of the top 4 or 5 teams at the November 1st and keep competing all the way into the end.
100%.
And the only way you do that is if you smoke Michigan and you start hot, and then you get to the late November and you win your home games in November. You start
Yep.
hot, finish strong, and all of a sudden you're in that top 3 or 4 teams at the end of the year. That would be yes. And then going back to your point, momentum going into next season, and
yeah.
just keep rolling.
Yeah.
That's what we want.
That's it. And that all goes back to, people are just having a hard time with numbers, and even 4 shows improvement. Does it really? I mean, coming off of last year, 6-6, you should have won at least 2 games, right? That makes you 8-4. Do the math.
Yep.
It's not great. So yeah, I look forward to that. I'm hoping 9-3, 10-2 as a regular season. I'm not going to predict that. I'm still 8-4, 7-5.
Leave that to me, Charlie. I'll do that.
Yeah, I got you to do that.
Brent will do it.
But yeah, you know what? I'm excited about this weekend coming up on the recruiting trail. I'm excited to get the Bowe Bentley, that situation cleared up. It'll help with Bowe and it'll help with Jaden O'Neal. One or the other should know, by the end of maybe this time next week, who's got all of OU's faith and backing. And then that'll clear up the rest of the recruiting picture on the offensive side of the ball, I believe. I think it's going to be Bowe Bentley, as I said, since he's been on. We'll see. We'll see. And other than that, I mean, it's a good weekend, good group coming in. But that's the focus for that one. And then you build that towards the 20th, which we should have a lot more to talk about between now and then.
Right.
So that's it. I'm going to go make my jambalaya.
Yeah, no, hey, appreciate it. And Rob, we would like you to join us for our schedule preview that we do. Yeah. We definitely would love to have a third person on here to talk.
Anytime.
Our schedule preview, we definitely want to go through that. So appreciate you joining us again. Yeah, you're God dang, I think I'm gonna have to go down the street and find some Cajun food tonight. You've got me craving Cajun now.
It's the only reason to go to LSU. Am I right?
That's the only reason. That's the only reason. Hey, take care. Later. Appreciate it. Bye.
Later, Charlie. Well, there we go.
Yeah. Hey,
okay.
I think can we take just like a 2-minute break and then come in and just do really quick on Thunder and wrap it up?
Yeah, let me go pee real quick.
Yeah, I need to do the same thing, and then I gotta do some yard work before the softball game too. So let's do that. I'll be back in 2 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, always good having Charlie on, and you can find him on TFB Oklahoma. He's a main content manager there.
Content manager.
Yeah,
content creator, content wizard,
content creator. Yeah, exactly. So always
Brand
great. It's where Rob and I get all of our recruiting information. I would suggest you do the same. So go out there and find them and be a donor. So we were talking a little bit. We mentioned Bowe Bentley. His name just kept popping up. He's a key recruit there on that side of the ball. So out of you mentioned it. He's out of that Denton Geyer area. Just really good arm. I never know like who to compare him to or anything like that. But yeah, he's got good arm and good pocket presence. And, you're the X's and O's guy, so you can see stuff that I don't. So, I
hate to be like repeating what other people have already said, but like, he's a solid QB, man. Like he's got an arm for a high school kid. Like this play right here where he's thrown it from hash. I mean, look at this throw. I mean, this is like he's thrown it from like the 20 to like across the hash. Like this looks like almost like a 60-yard throw. It ends up at the other. That's a 60-yard throw.
And it looked effortless.
This is like cover zero. There's no safety help. All he has to do is just lay it out for his.
Threw it on the money, yeah.
But you could see how the receiver doesn't slow down. He hits him right in stride, right in the bread basket. That's a pretty elite throw. Like I know he's like ranked top 5 in the recruiting rankings. I'm kind of surprised. I don't know what quarterback could be higher than that. I mean, that's a pretty dang good throw. There's another one right here. There's another one. I mean, this is again no safety help. It's just laying it out. But I like how he's leading his receiver. This not to nitpick, but O'Neal kind of throws behind. O'Neal puts too much air on the ball. You look at this ball. There's not much air underneath this ball. I mean, he's just zipping it right into the breadbasket.
Oh yeah.
That's pretty good. And of course the legs. And watching as much Washington State film of Mateer and even watching some of his film in high school, it's kind of similar in the fact that the running and the mobility, and this is another thing I liked on film. You see how he keeps that ball tight to his body, even though he's one-handing the ball, which I don't quite like. He's keeping it tight to his body, which is good. This quarterback's has had some coaching and how to be mobile within the pocket and everything. I don't like, but this is another good. Look at this throw, Brad. Like
No, yeah.
across his body, he resets his feet.
Yep.
And then 1, 2, 3, 4 in stride. That's pretty good.
Threw it where only his guy could catch it, which is always a big deal, right?
Yep, another, no safety help, and he just lays it in there. In stride. Boom. I mean, that for a high school quarterback, that in his junior year, that's pretty good.
No, yeah.
You see this right here. This is what I'm talking about right here. When you talk about, I don't care how many tackles you break or how many dudes you make miss in the pocket or how good your feet are and all this stuff, because all it takes is one play and one defender to knock the ball out. He keeps both hands on this ball high and tight, 2 hands on the ball, and then escapes out and then keeps his shoulder square and delivers a little 5-yard hitch. That's coached up, man. This kid's been coached up beyond just throwing the ball, and that's good to see in high school. And you see some other kids, and they're the 4-star, 5-star kids that are some of these like lower division of high school ball, and they've got the ball like all over the place. They're just like slinging it with their hand while they're running around. They're like dropping it down to their knees and everything, and I hate that. I hate that so much. That was one little thing I appreciated of his, is how he keeps the ball secure no matter how much he wants to make people look dumb. Keep that ball high and tight, both hands on.
Yeah, no, he's solid. He is not one of those guys. It's Kyler Murray speed, but he's fast enough, That's all you want from your quarterback, is a guy that can just, get away from pressure and make a few plays every now and then. So no, he's solid. Hopefully he doesn't stay in LSU a little longer and gets committed to them this weekend. If we can get him here next weekend. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a good one. I don't really spend too much time watching high school ball because sometimes it's really hard to, with the level of competition. As you see all those throws, it was all, outside one-on-one, my man against your man, my man beats you, I threw a good ball. It's much tougher if you've got those windows start to shrink in college game and you've actually got safeties with range that can actually like move and take your guy out, and you got to throw it to a tighter window. But I mean, seeing some of this, the way that he moves with the ball, the way that he resets his feet, he keeps his shoulders square, keeps the ball high and tight, and he's not got a whole lot of air underneath the ball. He's zipping it across the field. Those are all the things that translate to the next level. Like, he's not going to get into college game and just suddenly just drop that ball to his knees. Like, he's been coached up. He's not going to suddenly
Right.
just like roll out and then like dip his shoulders or like, do something stupid. It looks like he's been coached very, very well, and he's embraced it, and he's done some really good things, and he's only a junior and he's got a whole nother season ahead. And I saw that he threw like 5 touchdowns in a state title game. So, I mean, like, he's played in some big games.
Yep. Big atmosphere. Yep.
As big as you can get on a high school level is your
Oh,
state
yeah.
title, and if you're
Texas.
ripping it from a
Yeah,
touchdown,
absolutely. That is as
pretty
good as it
good.
gets.
I mean,
Yeah.
I watched that and I'm like, yeah, that makes sense why he's a 5-star quarterback. I mean, that looks like a 5-star quarterback to me. Someone who's
Yep.
been well coached.
Yeah. Hopefully we can get him here next weekend and just go ahead and seal the deal.
Yeah,
I have full,
that
I
would
have
be a
full
good get.
I have full confidence in, Arbuckle and Mateer and those guys to bring him in and sell him here. But yeah, so recruiting, we'll have follow up on that next weekend after that big recruiting weekend. And speaking of next weekend, next Sunday, we'll have two Thunder games under our belt. Maybe just one for sure Thursday. I'm not sure what time the game is next Sunday, but yeah, we found out who our opponent was, Indiana Pacers. I know we were both good either way, Indiana or New York. So Indiana to me poses some problems defensively. You just have to be very sound. They are very good on the perimeter and they don't make a lot of turnovers, unlike the the Timberwolves.
Right.
Who Timberwolves just hand you the ball over and over again.
They did.
Indiana's,
there you go.
Yeah. Indiana's just extremely well coached. Rick Carlisle, I worry about him. He's a really, really, really good coach.
He is.
So that concerns me probably more than anything. I think our defense and Shea and the offense will do fine, but the coaching, Carlisle's as good as they come. So that's probably got me my biggest concern. But I expect this to be a 6 or 7 game series. It's not going to be a walkover by either team for sure. But yeah, it all starts Thursday. I know this city desperately needs a title. We've been snake bitten a lot, especially when it comes to the NBA. So I'm hoping we got 4 more wins in us here over the next couple of weeks and can get that title that's escaped us the last 15 years or whatever it is. So,
well, we don't have a Kevin Durant to choke on this team. This team is laser focused. You can see it. It trickles down to to your Carusos and your Jalen Williams and your Aaron Wiggins and all of them. They're all playing laser focused basketball, and they're not worried about texting or all that stuff or who they're going to play with next year like KD did. So Shea's. I said a couple series ago, Shea's not going to be denied a finals, and now he's in the finals. There's going to be some really close games. Really close games. This is where I don't think we're going to run away. This might be a 1-1, 1-1 to start the first 4 games. It's going to really come down to. It's going to come down to the 6th and 7th game of the series, and I think this is the series where we see Shea really show up his clutch gene. I believe in it. I believe he's got the clutch gene, and I think he's gonna just steal the soul out of Indiana Pacers and just take it. That's what great players do. That's what great NBA players do. Is those final possessions, they just steal your soul and they just take the game away from you, and there's nothing you can do about it. And I'm hoping in this coming series we see Shea just take it. Just take it.
Yeah.
He's just gonna take it. What player on the Pacers is as close to Shea as far as just taking a game away from you? Do they have one? I don't.
Yeah,
I can't
Halliburton's the only other all-star on that team. He's their only all-star.
Yeah.
So you have to, by default, you pick him.
Right.
But they have guys that are streaky. you have your Neesmith, you have some guys that can shoot great from 3-point, and then Miles Turner or whatever, he's good.
Hmm.
Siakam's got championship
Oh,
pedigree.
forgot about
So
him.
he's the one that kind of concerns me as too. He's one of those guys that can kind of go off a little bit. So Halliburton, Neesmith, Siakam, those are the three that I would have on that list. But Halliburton's got a flair for the dramatic, and he's the guy you kind of got to lock down on. If you can take him out of his game a little bit, then
Yeah.
you kind of cut off a little bit of the head of the snake. But yeah, so I don't know. It's going to be, it'll be fun to watch the matchups and the adjustments both the coaches make, because
Coaches. Yep.
Dagnall's is as good as they come as well, but he just doesn't have that long history in the league like Carlisle does.
Yeah, I think when you get to this NBA Finals, you get to that final series, the ends of all, that it always comes down to that player that just takes the series away.
Mm-hmm.
And I would lean on, I'm a homer and I'm a Thunder fan, but I think this is a series where, because you look at this last series, we either beat the crap out of them or they just stole one from us. Like, it didn't feel, we didn't have a game where it was just like Shea could just show off his clutch. Not yet. It doesn't feel like in this entire playoffs, really. Maybe there was a game against Denver. A game against Denver, he stole their soul. He stole their game. But I really feel like this NBA Finals, he's going to have his clutch gene is going to come out, and he's going to take it. He's going to take it.
Yep.
It's all over, Brad. It's over. I'm just waiting patiently. I'm just trying to figure out where the parade route's going to be and where I want to be.
Stop. Yeah, I hope you're right. I would love for you to say "I told you so." I love hearing "I told you so"s when it's stuff like that.
I'm not a "I told you so" kind of guy.
But I would be more than happy if you said that to me here in a couple of weeks. Brad, I told you so. I'm like, yep. I agree. So yeah, it should be a fun series.
Yep.
But
pace, man.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, last thing, it's going to be the fastest finals of all time. These two teams love to run.
They love
to run, and they create extra possessions. This is going to be the fastest finals of all time. Like, it is, I would say all time. I'm support whatever, but like it's going to be fast. Like, they are going to run. These cats are gonna run, man. Like, it's gonna be exciting basketball, and us as fans, this is gonna be a wild week and a half, 2 weeks or whatever.
It won't be the fastest of all time, man. I grew up in the '80s watching the Lakers Celtics series, man, and those teams could get up and down the floor like nobody.
Yeah.
There were some 130 to 140 type games in that series, but anyway, yeah,
it's gonna be a fun series. It's gonna be great.
It is. Hey, everybody, thanks for tuning in again. Please download, like, subscribe, wherever you follow all your socials. Appreciate you tuning in. And we will hopefully have some good news next Sunday. The Thunder are ahead in the series, at least. So until next time, Boomer Sooner, and go Thunder. Take care, everybody.
That's my